Hey, what is up everyone? It's Theguyhere and welcome to Themindhere. There have been a lot of updates since last episode, and as keen observers of this series might know and realize, this episode is a week late. But let me explain, starting from the beginning. So a week ago, when this episode was supposed to release, after all, this is supposed to be a bi-weekly podcast, so it's released on a regular schedule. Last week was 2 weeks since the previous episode, but there were two things going on that made me decide not to release then. The first thing was that, that week, going from that weekend to basically up until this weekend, that was spring break for me. So in a spring break mode, I wasn't ready to put out an episode, and I didn't think I was going to make it enough of a quality with the motivation that I had from the start, going into the start of spring break. And not to mention the week beforehand, it was quite busy because it was going to be spring break, so a lot of the classes had more work assigned and deadlines, projects due, so a lot more work going on there, and I just didn't make enough time to do my personal development and learn insightful information or make enough significant progress to update everyone on that podcast episode. I didn't want to make it poor quality just to put it out there. That's not something that I want to do. So I decided to hold back for that reason. And another reason was because for a while now, I have been wondering and debating whether I want to change up a bit where I display my work and provide updates. So far, I had Instagram for some more personal updates, as well as some bigger updates that can involve sort of pictures. So a little more personal snapshot. And then, of course, there's YouTube, where I had this podcast episode sort of giving my thoughts on what's been going on just around me, but also about my projects. And those two were the main sources of information about my projects and works. But I decided that I wanted to start up a Patreon. If you followed me on Instagram, you might have seen that notification, but I'll talk a little bit about it a little bit later in this video. But I've decided that I wanted to make a Patreon page. So that would require a bit of work to get set up. I didn't want it to sort of just half-ass it and put it up there. That's, again, not my style. So in order to do it properly, I had to put in the work, and also so I said two, there's actually another one, and that's my project that I'm currently working on, the Villager Defense Minecraft plugin. I needed to get that production ready for one of the servers that sort of depends on it, because a lot of people play it. So I needed to put in the work there as well. So just accumulation of work I needed to do, as well as not having the content or motivation to put in an episode, made me delay this episode. But let's dive into that Patreon part of it. So why Patreon? Am I going to shut down my YouTube channel and other sources of where I'm going to be publishing my the work that I do? Well, actually, first and foremost, just to get this out of the way, all the work that I produce, be it the plugins that I make, any software projects or other projects that I work on, arts possibly that I do, music especially, that is still going to be completely free. I'm going to have that on my YouTube for things like music videos and all of that, on Musescore for the scores, and of course the free sheet music on my website, and also on GitHub you can find all my software projects. They'll be open and free. So none of that is going to change. But the reason why I wanted to start a Patreon, there were two main reasons. The first main reason is that as I've been doing these podcast episodes, I've realized that it still takes a lot of time to get these updates out. And in essence, it's almost like another piece of work that I have to do in order to provide an update, right? And in the past, it has served me well because I had extra time in high school and I wanted to practice my speaking skills. So put that combined together, there were obvious benefits and I wanted to continue with that. But now that I've grown a bit and I've become more busy, my projects have become a bit more difficult, and just all of that combined, I really didn't start seeing I started seeing less of a benefit or a reason to continue with this, and it seemed more like I was just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I'm all for that consistency of having that there, but at some point I've realized that it's not really serving me, and I doubt that it's serving other people as well. So one of the reasons why I started a Patreon is so that I can put out updates in a more frequent manner. I plan to do it on a weekly basis, and also do it in a way that is less work on me, but able to provide more information for you guys. So it'll be in the form of posts, weekly updates, and those will be open posts that you can view whether you are a patron on Patreon for me or not. So that is just I think a better medium for me to do so, and also just a better way, more a central place where you can find updates on my projects that I'm working on, whether it be a new update for a new version for software that I've been working on, for example, or a release of a music video, whatever it be. So I think that's a better way to go about it. And the second reason why is that I wanted to offer a place for people to, if they want to support me financially or donate to me, then that's a good place to do so. I've had people before talk about possibly supporting me, and at the time I didn't have a good system for that, so I just sort of told them that it's okay, and that it could come by later. But in order for me to continue with the production that I do in a more sustainable manner going into the future, and just for a place if people want to support the work that I do, and also, just provide that little motivation knowing that there are people who are paying for the work that I do. All of that combined from a financial support perspective is something that is also a reason why I started Patreon. But I want to keep it so that it's not me trying to make a living off of it, although if I do end up being able to support myself through it, that would be nice. But I've made it so that the work I do is still going to be free, but it's just basically off of goodwill that you want to support me and go onto Patreon, become a patron. So important updates and all of that, those will all still be free. There may be some patron-only options that I'll have to explore for the people who are paying or to support me, and I'll tinker with that. But just taking a look at some of the initial offerings I have for the different tiers, it's mostly recognition that I'll be offering, as well as some of the patron only updates, also just priority in feature requests. If you want to request a song or features in plugins or software projects, then you'll have priority over other people that aren't paying. So not necessarily that it will be implemented, but it's just like a priority to consider. And in the further tiers, I'm mostly looking at people who want to build off of my project, or are server owners and want to have a stable plugin that they can work with. I'll be offering just more support in that respect for the financial support that you provide me there. So those are the two main reasons. One is a better place for me to distribute content, and also the financial support aspect, providing a place for people to do that, and also a place for me to just sort of know that people like the content, and also just a good way to keep me motivated. So those are some of the reasons why I do that. But another I think benefit that will come and emerge from this is that because I will be able to keep away from just putting out content for the sake of putting it out there, hopefully my content on YouTube will improve in quality, so that the content I put out will be a bit more sporadic, So like, whenever I put out music videos, it's not really on a regular basis, but whenever I finish it, right? So it won't be scheduled, but it should be better quality. And for the regular updates, I can then put that in a form of a blog post sort of style on Patreon. That way it's I think it's a better medium for this sort of scheduled updates. So that should improve the quality of the work that I do. And that's one of the benefits that I see. So those were some of the reasons why I chose to go down the path of Patreon. So yeah, as you can see, my spring break has been quite a busy one. I've been working on the launch of Patreon, so getting all of the back-end logistics down, setting up the page, making some of the artwork, making a few changes. If you look at my cover arts carefully for whatever media that you look at, especially YouTube, but the banner art is that there's a slight tweak in it to adjust for what I now am currently focusing on. So, just things like that to support the launch of my Patreon page. I've been working on that. And as well, I've been working on the production release of Villager Defense. At the moment, version 1.1.1 is the latest production version out there. It should be a relatively stable version for people to put on their servers and test out and play Villager Defense. So most of the bugs should be all worked out and it should work pretty smoothly. But I've still got features upcoming, so it's definitely not in its final state, but it's in a state where you can enjoy it for quite a while to come. So that has been quite a bit of work, and from my previous episodes talked about the struggles of getting the latest version out. Well, now it's finally out, and I'll talk more about it on my Patreon page. So if you're interested in keeping up to date with that, then I suggest you go out and check out the page. I'll put it in the description of the videos in the future so that you know where to find it, but it should also just be patreon.com/Theguyhere. So keeping it simple, you can find me there to check out the latest updates on the projects that I'm working on. But those were the reasons why that I couldn't find that I had to delay this episode by a week, because I had to work on all of that. But moving forward, what do I have going on? Well, as you can sort of tell by the tone of this video, these episodes here will not be scheduled anymore. So I didn't say that I'll be completely shutting down this series. However, I won't be releasing on a regular basis anymore. This will be dedicated to videos about certain inspirations or just ideas that come across and I want to share. So hopefully higher production value and more meaningful, but it'll be less often. So I'll keep this open and sort of as a legacy of what I went through for the past, but it won't be continuing in this form in the future. Instead, the updates will be weekly on Patreon in the form of a post to everyone that can get on Patreon, not just people that are supporting me. So go check that out if you're still interested in following the content I do. And of course, just Instagram for personal life updates and also bigger announcements will go on there as well. But the projects that I'm working on, I have, of course, the academics that I need to focus on, so that'll come back and take up a bigger portion of my time, but I'll be focusing on the side on working on the Villager Defense plugin. That is first and foremost the plugin, the project that I'm going to be working on. There's also been a transcription that's been sort of in the works, but I've put to a side to work on Villager Defense and just organize my life and sort out everything academically. So that was possibly coming back, and I would like to, instead of using the Musescore audio that I've been using for the last two, I'd like to go back into music production again, work at some DAWs, and get a better sounding music video out for that transcription. So those two main projects there. I hesitate to go further with other projects because I don't want to spread myself too thin, and I know that if I do, it'll be nice to feel that starting up momentum, but then that middle portion where it doesn't feel like you're making as much incremental progress, that's where it'll kill off every project that I'm working on instead of, just focusing my effort on one project. So that's where I'll be headed in the future. So the goal here is to improve productivity and quality of my production, and that is the change that I'm making. It's quite a big change, some big pivots that I'm making in my life, but I think it's necessary in order for me to grow out of the environment that I'm currently in. So hopefully you all understand. For those that follow me regularly, I apologize for the lateness of this episode, and I hope you understand the change that I'm making. But I want to, for this final scheduled episode, I want to thank everyone that has supported me throughout this series, throughout all of my creative career. It's been a pleasure to create all of this and receive feedback from anonymous people I don't know on the internet, who genuinely appreciate the work that I've done. When I started making music and then working on plugins and other creative projects, I was sort of just putting it out there on the internet, and putting it there as a repository, so I can feel free to make content. But as it turned out, people did appreciate the work that I do, and I wrestled back and forth between whether I want to be a dedicated content creator or go down the other professional paths that I wanted, and decided to keep this more in the hobby realm. But it'll be something that keeps me, I think, unique, and also keeps me passionate about the work that I do. So it's nice to know that there are people who support me and who have followed me through, even though I've personally felt that the progress through the past year has not been that great. But I'm working on making changes, making improvements, and working on just overall bringing out better stuff from me and holding true to the identity that I want and that I've created from the past. So a huge thank you to everyone. I hope everyone's doing well through these quite uncertain and wild times that we are in. But perhaps we will see each other again at some other point. I'll definitely be making videos, whether it'll be one of these where I'm talking to you face to face. That might be of less frequency, but hopefully I won't forget how I can speak in front of the camera like this without these regular episodes. But that's all for this episode. Thank you for your support. Leave any questions, comments, or feedback down in the comment section below. Take care, stay humble. This is the guy here. Out.